Gaijin Entertainment develops and publishes a large number of games, such as War Thunder, Crossout, Star Conflict, and Enlisted. And now there's a new one in the works. Let's talk about it. Firstly, big thanks to Mike Tandy for being a big help on this video and getting these files extracted and nicely readable. Within the files for a few Gaijin projects exist work-in-progress localization files for a new project titled To the Sky. There are quite a few text strings here, so I'll just be going over the more interesting ones in this video. In short, To the Sky is a tycoon-style flight simulation game that has the player maintaining a fleet of aircraft and performing missions to acquire upgrades and expand their capabilities in air fleet, all set in a variety of tropical locations. The primary setting of the game seems to be the tropics, with a handful of airports and various island chains across the globe. Short note, these locations appear to be subject to change. The earliest versions of localizations for To the Sky I saw about 6 months ago had a single region set in the Bahamas. However, in the newest batch of localization files, these are no longer present. It's too early at this point to say what the final location list will be. In place of these older locations, we have what appear to be 2 new ones, first set in the Hawaiian island of Molokai, and another across a number of islands in the Central Caribbean. Looking at Molokai first, the 4 major airports listed for it form roughly a triangle about 30 miles to a side. Seeing as the starting aircraft would probably be the Cessna 172, an aircraft not exactly famed for its speed, I believe Molokai to be the starting location for the game. As in a 172, it would be roughly 15 to 20 minutes flying time between locations, assuming you're at max speed. Now there's another airport in the region, simply titled Seaplane Base, with the internal code HI-24. HI-24 is the airport code for Daniel K. Inouye International Airport in Honolulu, Hawaii, but this is about 45 miles away from all of the other airports, sort of by itself, so I'm not sure if this is part of the same map or not. The other region currently in the game, the Central Caribbean, is far larger and more dense with locations than Molokai, with 9 airports across multiple islands and territories, and the largest distance between locations of just over 100 miles. This box is in a rough area 250 miles to a side, which is significantly larger than any map we've seen in Dagger Engine before. The largest maps in War Thunder are 80 or so miles to a side, which leads me to believe this area will actually be broken into 3 separate regions, which would put their scale closer to what we know Dagger Engine can handle. There's further evidence of this being the case, which I will get into later when going over mission types. For pilotable aircraft, a number are already listed in the files. The Cessna 172 and 208, Air Tractor AT-802, de Havilland DHC-2, DHC-3, and DHC-6, the Piper PA-18 and PA-23, and Canadair CL-215 all have names and descriptions in the files. Each aircraft has a number of individual parts that appear to be part of the upgrade track, with each plane currently having sections for engines, avionics, interiors, modules, propellers, and landing gear. These upgrades all require storage space at the player's airport. It's worth noting that a few of these aircraft are seaplanes, and along with the seaplane base listed in the previous section, the gameplay loop will likely involve missions that require floats. Each plane is given stats such as service ceiling, range, takeoff weights, and so on. As for flying them, there is no info on controls yet, but I have no reason to believe this game would not use the Dagger Engine and War Thunder's mouse-aim flight system. Flying missions will seemingly require a balance of plane capabilities such as cargo and passenger capacities, fuel and associated fuel costs, and time. Crashing your aircraft appears to not result in a reset, instead returning the player to their airport and requiring them to pay to rescue the aircraft. As for the gameplay, we can find a lot of info on what To the Sky's gameplay loop actually is. There's at least a basic level of character customization, and then the player is given an airport with a hangar, office, and storage space. Upgrading the hangar and storage allow for storing more aircraft and more gear, respectively. There isn't a definitive answer for what the office does yet, but I would assume upgrading it would allow for more and better paying missions. As for the missions, 3 types are currently fleshed out, with a number of others less so. The First is passenger missions, which simply require the transport of a number of passengers from one location to another, with general flavor text that varies by mission, with passengers from tourists to construction workers to businessmen, etc. The next type of mission is cargo, which is pretty typical cargo airline fare, transporting fuel, supplies, food, gun running, transporting illegal goods and cash, smuggling narcotics, airline stuff. Assuming you complete the former two mission types efficiently and without being thrown in prison, there is the third type of mission titled Campaign that involves the transportation of an airport inspector named Mr. Hunt to a number of airports. There are presently 4 of these, the first being to Lanai Airport in Molokai, and the remaining 3 in order are flights to VC Bird, Clayton J. Lloyd, and Gustav III, all in the Central Caribbean region. Looking at the location list and mission descriptions, it appears this might be how new regions are unlocked as the player progresses through the game. This is another reason why I'm not sure if the Central Caribbean map is one contiguous map after all. Knowing this, I think a map selection from the current crop of airports would look more like this, divided into 3 regions with the campaign missions. VC Bird is a bit of an outlier in that it's kind of all over the place when grouped with the closest 2 airports in Robert L. Bradshaw and Vance W. Amory. I'm not sure if this is complete, but it's the best guess I can make at this point. Next is Clayton J. Lloyd, along with Grand Case and Princess Juliana airports. This one seems more cut and dry. Lastly, we have Gustav III, along with F.D. Roosevelt, and this one. Unique in that it is mostly open ocean between the airports. None of this is confirmed, though, and all of the Central Caribbean could be one large map after all, but as far as I know, a map of that size is not possible in Dagger Engine at the moment. Beyond this, there are single lines about a few other mission types, namely firefighting, agricultural, search and rescue, photo, skydiving, and tour missions, but these have no other information or details on them at the moment. Upon mission completion, the player is assigned a grade and given money to purchase upgrades and new aircraft. There's also a player level that increases with experience. There are a lot more text strings, but they're mostly repetitive or nothing particularly interesting. This is everything I know about To the Sky at present. There's absolutely no indication on when this project will see the light of day, but progress appears to be moving at a decent pace. Over about 6 months, the number of localization strings and their depth has increased significantly. If anything interesting happens to pop up, I'll definitely be sure to make updates on it. Feel free to subscribe so you don't miss those. In the meantime, drop a like and feel free to ask any questions in the comments below.